Hey there, Fellowship family. Welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. My name is Mark Francis, and I'm once again your host for today. We have a special episode here where I wouldn't consider this to be a part of a series that we've done. You know, recently we've talked about how we've had staff changes here at FBC and things going on. But a lot of times we try to use these episodes in this Fellowship Family podcast just to get to know people, hear some personal stories and testimonies of what God is doing in the life of people in our body. And there's a relevant conversation that we're going to have today, and it relates to money. Everybody has money. Everybody wants more money. Everybody has ways of losing money or making money, and then it causes drama. So we have some just interesting stories that I want to get a chance to unpack with a couple here at church, Anthony and Whitney Sinecoff. How are you guys?
Hi, we're great.
You know, that's a really weird introduction to be like, everybody can lose money and make money, you know? But I think you guys have a really good background story, and I want to get a chance to get to know you guys and hear kind of really what God has done in your life. First of all, let me just start by introducing you guys. You guys have been to FBC for how long?
I think consistently with our family since about 2012, but I also grew up in the youth group.
Yes.
So yeah, Suzanne Pearson was I remember going to her house for the summer. She's my youth leader.
See, the Pearsons.
So many, yeah.
I mean, generation, I think, has come and gone for
Yes.
the Pearsons of kids going through.
I remember when their kids were little, and now Caleb's like running things, like a lot of things here, and it's just wild to see. He's married now.
Yes. Shout out to Caleb.
Yeah.
Yes.
He would not remember me. He was so little.
So Anthony, so you guys kind of started coming together as a couple in what year?
Yeah, I'd say 2012. We actually lived across from Mark and Lisa and
Carrie,
yes,
our senior pastor.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes.
And our daughter at the time, gosh, how old was she? 6 maybe? I don't know.
2012, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they invited her to Vacation Bible School, and so she came to the Bible school, and I think we went for a little bit of it, and then we were like, hey, that makes sense. It's so close to home.
Mm-hmm.
You have a connection there.
I do.
And so we were like, hey, let's just check it out.
Really
and,
strong children's ministry,
yeah.
which is so important to us.
Yeah.
Lorelai, some of her class, she goes to Legacy, so some of her classmates were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have Lorelai and then Shepherd?
Yes, Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
and he's 6, so Lorelai will be 13, and Shepherd is 6 years old.
Wow. So that was like 9 years ago when you kind of were like, okay, let's get plugged into a church.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let's back it up even before then.
Sure.
How did you guys meet? Like, how did you?
It was 2006.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah. So she was actually worked at the Royals, Winchester Royals, and she worked the concession stand there. So I was like, who is this very attractive girl? So I would go up and I would, keep buying things at the concession stand. And I get to the point where I was buying like a piece of bubble gum at a
5-cent pieces of gum.
And I keep going back. All right, I need a new piece of gum. So we met that way, and we lived in the same area of Frederick County, and just started making association and talking that way. But that's how I started. And we were dated for a year,
a little less than a year, and we were married in 2007. So we just celebrated 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so if you got married in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of were living lives. What kind of careers do you have? What were you doing even pre-kids? What did it look like to be a young married couple back in that time?
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I went to school for accounting. So the big joke is that, I'm now a CPA, majored in accounting, worked in finance for my entire career, but I didn't really know a lot about personal finance. And so it was, very interesting. I knew how to do it at work, but at home, it was like, gosh, I'm not really, didn't have the best practices when I was growing up in terms of, financial, health and things like that. But yeah, we were married young, and she was younger than I, obviously, but we were married in 2007, and we rented a townhouse at the time, and we were sort of just kind of feeling things out, not really knowing had a good strategy financially. Mm-hmm. And we took a lot of bumps along the road and sort of learned things kind of the hard way. But
I want to hear some about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious because, again, your story is probably going to be very similar to many of our stories out there of just not really having a true proper education of what it looks like to be accountable with money.
Yeah.
And then you get married and then you start having kids and you have expenses. And so from a financial standpoint, we're all going to be able to relate to your story. Whitney, how about you? What kind of career path do you have?
So I actually, when we got married, I left Liberty University after one semester to get married. And I promised my dad I would finish my degree. So after we got married, I finished school at George Mason. We had our daughter as well. So I was actually a paralegal, and I would work in Winchester, and I would commute to school a couple days a week and back and forth for a couple years until I finally finished my degree. And I'm a legal assistant.
Neat.
Yeah, downtown Winchester. So I love my job, absolutely love it. Go figure, I don't really need a degree to do what I do. And the bulk of what was our debt in the first place was student loans. So, yeah.
I have a son who is a freshman in college now.
Okay.
And we're having these kind of conversations. And I feel like it's my parental duty to at least impart something to him of what does it look like to understand money.
Yeah.
And I came from a family where we were blessed, and my parents were blessed. And growing up, a lot of things were not just given to me, but it just kind of happened. I was able to go to college, and I didn't have the student loan debt.
Yeah.
And so to have my kids appreciate the value of a dollar, where it comes from, and how to spend it wisely, I feel is a parent kind of duty.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. So walk me through what was your all's background? Because you said that you didn't really have that kind of education.
Right.
And then you started going kind of a little slippery slope of not really understanding over the years what debt looks like.
Right.
It's funny for me. I have these very clear moments from where debt started in my life, even when I turned 18. I remember standing at American Eagle. They asked me if I wanted a credit card. I said, sure. I'll do that. Yeah, that sounds great. I remember signing my first form for my student loan so that I could go to school. And my mom just said, sign here. And I really didn't understand at the time what I was signing. I just knew I had to do it so that I could go to college. And that was important to me. So I did it. I remember even my wedding dress. It was only $200 from David's Bridal, but I had not been paying the bill, and they were calling me, and I remember feeling stressed even over that. I mean, it was something silly, like $27 a month for, a length of time. So I remember those very clear moments, even from when I was young, to where it's amazing I didn't wake up until just a few years ago. But that's kind of where it started for me, was right out of the gate, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Anthony, for you, I mean, so you go to school, be an accountant, understand at least money, pluses and minuses, a ledger sheet.
Right.
That's about as much as I know. I have a business degree too, but I hate accounting. Trust me, I will turn it over to you gladly to look at my numbers. But what was it for you to really see the difference of a personal financial accountability versus just job and career?
Right. Yeah. Mine's sort of very similar to Whitney. I remember getting my first credit card when I was probably the same age, and I was like, oh, it's just extra money, and I remember very specifically, it's only a $200 credit card, right? And it just so you can imagine how quickly that maxed out. So it was just one of those things where it happened over the course of time, and there wasn't that financial acumen, and I think it was just a cumulative nature of there weren't good habits early on, because partially just personal responsibility, but I didn't have that education, right? And the big meme nowadays is we can learn how to do math with letters, but they don't teach us how to file taxes and apply for look at financial aid and think about how much interest we'll pay over the course of our life relative to homes and cars.
Something
as
simple as living within your means. It's just not taught.
Yeah.
And it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's very fundamental.
So what was the breaking point? What was the moment in time where was there a light bulb moment, or was it just like a slow, oh, wow, I need to start thinking differently?
There was definitely a light bulb moment for me. Anthony for years had been trying to tell me, hey, there's this guy, Dave Ramsey. And I was just like, I don't know what that is. And and that's very common, by the way, with spouses, is it's not, you can hear it clearly from somebody else, maybe not your spouse, that's okay. Eventually it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, now I see what you're talking about. But I mean, just over the years, I had alone $80,000 in student loan debt. Anthony had, I don't remember how much, but we had a cumulative of about over $130,000 in debt. And I just remember thinking, there's no way to get out of this unless we win the lottery. I mean, this is just, we are sunk. Right. We were house poor. Every penny was out the door. Credit cards. I mean, we were just spending money.
Like
130,000. So get that number right. So 130,000. That's not
even with our house. That was student loans, credit cards. We had 3 vehicles.
And then a house debt
and then a house
as well.
On top of that.
Right. And you're trying to raise a family.
Yes.
So you have a couple kids. How are you living on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis? Was there any kind of recognition of the debt that you had?
Oh, definitely. We had several conversations, but just when you get a raise, then we'll take care of it. Right. Well, when he got a raise, it's when we found a way to live on that raise instead of, taking care of our mess. Just with the student loans alone, I mean, that was crushing. That was $1,100 a month in student loans. So finally, I went to visit a friend in Michigan, and we were talking with a friend, and he said, yeah, I listen to Dave Ramsey podcast. And I just remember very clearly, like, it just kind of clicking, like, there's that Dave Ramsey guy. And I went home and I started listening to it like the next day. And by that Tuesday, I said, I am done with debt. We are putting our house on the market. I had gotten on Zillow. I found a 710 square foot house.
Wow.
I said, we are selling our house. It was 3,000. Yeah, it's tiny. Yeah. We said, we are selling our 3,000 square foot home. We are getting rid of this debt. And we did it. We sold everything.
So what point in time was this? Do you have it?
This was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was 2018. This was September 2018. And within a month, we were closed on the new house. We found a buyer for our house. I put everything, all of our furniture, because you couldn't take anything with us, everything. And my parents thought we were crazy. They tried to have an intervention with us.
Wow.
I mean, it was wild, but I just felt like felt like it was a curse. And I was just, one thing I remember thinking is, how can I be a blessing to others when this is just constantly a curse in my life? So that's when we were done.
What impact did that have on your family? As far as kids, were they kind of recognizing that there's a change happening?
Oh, yeah. Lorelai, she was, I don't know, 9?
Yeah, she was about 9 at the time.
Yeah, 9 years old. So she was kind of like, what is happening? You're uprooting my whole world. But luckily, our house is only a mile away from where we were previously living. And so it's very close to my parents still. But she was still kind of a little freaked out. We do share a room with I guess he's 5. He's not 6. He's going to be 6 this year. We share a bedroom with our 5-year-old, the two of us. So right now, for now. And eventually that will change. But other than that, like, I feel like in our old house, we never even saw each other. We were all in different corners. We never spent time together. This house, you can't help but spend time together. It's actually really nice.
Yeah.
We're on top of each other.
Well, so it's 700 square feet.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that you're seeing more of each other. It's kind of like what we all experienced with COVID last year.
Right.
That we're all forced to now be there together, and that can impact our family positively or negatively.
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
So, I mean, I love the idea that you're saying that it did have a positive impact on your family. Yeah. Walk me through what you heard from Dave Ramsey. So if you were thinking to yourself, I'm in a hole so deep that I don't see an out. You made pretty drastic measures.
We did.
What are the steps that you guys gleaned that you said, okay, what he's saying, this works for my family and this doesn't work? How did you were you all in with what Dave Ramsey said? Did you kind of piece together some other ideas from other points of counsel or advice?
Yeah. It's a really good, just a very methodical process, with all the steps. And again, it's things that I think we inherently know, like having a budget, but we don't actually really put to practice, or we didn't at least, right? But that was one of the fundamental steps is, we have to have a budget. We have to learn how to not live on, more than we're making, right? And so that was one of the steps was, obviously formulating a budget, sitting down and knowing what's coming in and what's going out, and how to sort of mitigate all the leakage that you see, like, how many subscriptions do we have? And, but the great thing about, the house was, it was sort of, it kind of galvanized us and started what is referred to as the debt snowball in Dave Ramsey, where you start with your smallest debt and start to pay those off first, and you snowball into your largest debt. But it sort of allowed us to do that. We took our gain from the home and we started to pay off cars, and we
didn't have very much gain from the home. It was
not a lot. Yeah.
It was like just there to take care of one car, one $350 a month payment.
Right.
And that's really where things started to snowball.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think, oh, they sold their house and they were able to pay all of our debt.
Right.
No, we have had to work these steps, and we've been in the thick of them for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still have a career and you're having income. I mean, because there's the idea of, I mean, very basic here, but what comes in, income, and then the expenses, what goes out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a balance to where, like, you're at least not losing money each month.
Right.
Is that the simple way of putting it?
Yeah.
You know, so
Absolutely.
when you're looking at selling your house, it didn't instantly pay off everything.
No.
Right.
But what you did was you reduced your expenses to a point where the income that was coming in allowed you to then have freed up cash.
Yes.
Right.
And instead of going on vacations, instead of spending more things and getting a different car or upgrading your furniture or spending extra things on kids, you were able to pay things down.
Yeah, things like a car payment. I mean, I remember paying off our car, ages ago in 2008, one of our old vehicles, and being like, okay, let's go get another car. I just always felt like a car payment's normal. Credit card payments are normal. You always, you know, go for the bigger house for your family. That's what you do for your family. You sacrifice for your family. And it just was like, at the end of the day, what kind of sacrifice is this if we're miserable? So instead, we decided to sacrifice a different way. I think it's paying off, definitely. It's a lot of hard work. For the most part, we do follow Dave's steps pretty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
We have done maybe a couple things where we've switched things up here and there. And I think that everybody can do that based on their circumstances. But I think that the overall plan is there and it does work.
Interesting. Yeah. So give me a quick snapshot of, you know, an example of one of the steps he gives. I mean, I think what you're walking us through is very practical, but you keep pointing back to Dave Ramsey, and so we'll get to that in a second. But you know, what are some of this? I mean, not that you haven't memorized, but what are
I do. That's okay.
Excellent. That's why you're here.
I live them.
So walk me through what they are.
Sure. So baby step 1 is saving $1,000.
Okay.
Just that's it. $1,000. Don't worry about saving everything at once. Baby step 2 is starting your debt snowball. So you list your debts smallest to largest. You pay the minimums on all of them, and any extra that you have, any extra income that you have at all, you just throw out the smallest debt until it's gone. Then you can snowball that payment to the next one, and so on. Baby step 3 is saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Baby step 4, I believe, is college? Or is that
15%
retirement?
to retirement.
15% to retirement. Retirement's more important than college funds. Baby step 5 is then saving for your kids' college fund. Baby step 6 is, I believe, paying off your home. So just shoveling towards your home. Not as intense as you are in baby step 2 with your debt. And then baby step 7 is living and giving like nobody else.
Wow. Yeah. That is big class for that. Yeah.
Very nice.
That, I mean, so that is something that you internalized in a way that you had to then figure out, how am I going to live that out? Because that's just steps in writing on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Somebody on a podcast talking to you, but you have to live it out.
Yes.
What advice would you give to people that are listening to say, oh, they make it seem so easy. You just do this and you do this step and then you just sell the house. I can't do that. You know, so what advice do you have for the listeners of what's the first step to take?
Right. Yeah. So I think one of the good things, you know, about where we currently are, and hopefully we won't always be there, but we're in baby step 2. We're still paying off the debt. We're still sort of in the soup. We're in the thick of it. Is you know, when we you know, teach the class and we interact with class members, is kind of like we are very close to where you are, and we realize the challenges. It can seem like a tall mountain to climb, but it can be done. It can be done. But the first step, and they say it is, and Dave will say it's often the most difficult step, is saving that $1,000, because you decide, which is the first step, your safety fund, and it's almost like you're minimally self-insuring against something happening. You know, a tire blows out, something happens with your engine. The reason that can be the most challenging part is because you're choosing to really commit to the process at that point. And you know, if you decide to do that, and you start to build a little bit of momentum, things can be done. This can be accomplished. And you know, aside from that, once you're in baby step 2, you're in the debt snowball, you feel the wins. And that's the reason that Dave says do smallest to largest, is because you get those wins up close and you feel those wins. Yep. And then once you start to feel that momentum, you start to realize that you can do it, and it can be done. It's possible. And so it is very encouraging when you see those steps early on. So
neat. What kind of spiritual growth did you see take place during this process? What did you learn about God in this moment? Are there any kind of family stories or anything personally that really you're like, oh yeah, this is freeing for me?
One thing that we always mention, this is our anecdote we tell this in class, is one of the cars that we paid off was sort of a vanity car for me. It was a Jeep. It was like this Jeep. It was lifted and it had all these really cool bells and whistles, and it turned out to be a money pit. And it was, we were sort of stuck with it. We're like, how on earth are we going to...
$18,000 money pit.
Yeah, how are we going to pay this thing off? But fortunately, through the process, selling the home and starting the baby steps, we were able to do that and pay that off. But for me, and I think for us, it started the questioning process. Why are we buying the things that we're buying? Why are we making the purchases that we're purchasing? Is it because this is the right purchase, or this is the right thing, or is it because there's some other motivation, right? And for me, in that sense, it was a pride thing. I want to be seen in a cool vehicle, and there's nothing wrong with cool vehicles. I love cars, and there's nothing wrong. But as Christ said, where your treasure is, there's your heart is also. So I think it's just sort of unlocked, and and God sort of revealed to us, our motivations and why we're doing the things we're doing, and also just I think the process length. It can take a while. It doesn't take forever, but it does take a while to get this whole thing done, and it really does mirror sort of the spiritual walk. You have successes, you have failures. You say, gosh, I messed up. I went out and bought this thing. I bought this electronic toy. It was such a dumb thing, and and we go through those in life where we mess up. We go back to the cross, and we ask for forgiveness, and we get back on it, with His help. So it's very parallel to
so just staying in it too, because we have had moments where we've really messed up on this journey, and one reason why we like to commit to teaching is because we like to stay very close to the program while we're in it, because it's just such a good reminder of, just like with your faith, there's times where you can feel discouraged when you're not reading your Bible, when you're not praying, when you're not coming to church, having that community, you get very discouraged. So just like with financial peace, it's very good to stay in it, and it's a reminder every week of why we're doing what we're doing.
That's cool. I mean, I'm hearing a component of dependency on God.
Right? Yeah,
I'm hearing a component of a better understanding of grace.
Yeah,
right.
In what you're saying as well.
Yeah.
And just a level of just walking by faith at the same time of knowing that, okay, God has put us here for a reason. There's nothing wrong with money.
No,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's the love of money that then leads to the root of all evil, or brings you to a point of pride, or brings you to a point of taking your eyes off of God.
Yeah.
And so how can we use the money that we do have to serve Him and do it within our means? And that's what I'm hearing out of you guys. And that's a neat story to tell. Well, you also are talking about your teachers. So you're talking about this class, and financial peace is the name of the class.
Yes.
Walk me through what that looks like. And I think there's even something coming up here in the fall.
There is. Yeah. So that's going to be starting, I believe, the Sunday of Labor Day.
That's right.
The 10:30 a.m. class.
September 5th.
Yes. So there's childcare provided, which is great.
Excellent.
And it's just basically a week-by-week study of, he goes through each baby step. He starts off, as the program as a whole. He goes through how to budget. I mean, a lot of people who we get in class have never even thought about budgeting. So, and I think it's just really nice too, where everybody is very open. They kind of get a snapshot of their financial situation.
Right.
And you can be as open in the class as you are comfortable with. We have people who tell us everything. We have people who speak to us privately, or who want to hold, their situation a little closer to their chest, and that's okay. It's just getting in there and understanding the basics of how to get going.
So just a recap of that plug. 11-week class, starting Sunday, September 5th at 10:45 in the upstairs Biblical Training Center wing of our church. come? Do you have to sign up, or can you just show up?
Yeah, there is a sign up. I believe it's through, what is Miss Wiseman? I can't remember Miss Morris. John's assistant.
You can just call in the church.
Yeah.
Yep. Call in the church and say, I want to sign up for Financial Peace University.
And it's a $100 commitment. So that gets you your materials, your book, and everything that you need. And Dave kind of did it that way. Dave Ramsey did it that way because he kind of wanted people to have skin in the game. Like if it was just a totally free class, would you show up? Would you take it as seriously? So, and there are scholarship opportunities as well if someone needed a scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I mean, to put a little bit of a cost to say, okay, I've got to learn the skills and the tool set to be able to get that done.
Yeah.
And so when that kicks off, you guys will be there each week.
So yes.
We can count on seeing your faces and people when they come, they can ask the questions and learn.
And we do dive a little bit more into our situation, as deep as anyone wants to get.
Yeah. It's nice. We definitely we share our failures and we share our wins. And I think that creates a good environment for people to open up.
Is there homework involved?
Sometimes, maybe just creating a budget, those sorts of things, writing down all of your debt. Kind of facing your situation is, I feel like, a good first step for everybody. Because there were times where I didn't even know what money was going out where. Right. I had no idea what was going on. And it took really sitting down and us writing all that down together to be like, we are really in a pit. We really need to get out.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you guys are willing to be open to share about this. A lot of people don't want to reveal dirt in their lives.
Yeah.
And so for you to just be honest and open, be a part of the class and have people that you can just say, hey, come to us and we'll share our story. We'll help you out, walk you through life together. I think that is a huge bonus that is happening here at FBC.
Yeah.
So here within our body, you can be a part of that Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. Get plugged in, learn more about, how do we deal with the things that God has given us and hopefully grow spiritually at the same time as you guys have. So thank you for so much for being a part of it. Anthony and Whitney, you guys are amazing.
One other thing I want to mention is if someone has already taken the class, they can still come and take it. They don't have to pay the $100. They already have the materials. If they want a refresher.
Need a refresher.
Totally fine. Right. We do it every semester. We get refreshed every semester. So.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, continue. If you have questions, write them in. We can review them. We can point you to different websites and materials. But again, September 5th is going to be the launch date of Financial Peace University. And as far as podcasts go, we're going to continue to just give more personal stories and testimonies of what God is doing in the lives of people here at our church in these next several months to come. And by the way, you can also continue to be connected with our Sermon Spotlight podcast and our Global Church, our Global Missions podcast here at FBC. You can go to fbcva.life/podcasts and learn all of those things. So until we chat again, everyone, let's, as we learned today, let Christ be the focus of your life each and every day.